Okay, so if you remember from last time, we had some problem with, I think, tank 2 shells. And I couldn't figure out while we was filming last time why it wasn't timing out. And I did figure that out. So I want to show you first the problem and then how to fix it. So here's the problem. I fire with tank 2 and the bullets are going all the way across the room. And we were trying to fix that last time. What I didn't notice is that tank 1 is actually working. See how they time out? They have a specific range. So why is it working for tank 1 and not tank 2? And the answer is here. Here's tank 1. All right, so if you look here, this is on, I guess we need to look at shell 1. Here in shell 1, notice how we're calling the parent event before we shoot the shell off. It's in the parent event where the alarm gets created. So what's happening is in shell 2, we forgot to do that. So if we go to shell 2 and we're in the create event of shell 2, see how we're not calling the parent event? We got to do that, or otherwise the timeout's not going to work. So just type parent here. So there, and then just drag that first. And that will fix the problem. Let's try just to make sure. But we want to see if the shells coming out of tank 2 also are limited in range. That's what we're trying to find out. So here's shell. Yeah, now those are stopping after a certain amount. Okay? So again, that was our issue last time. We need to clean that up from last time. But now our next problem is the pickups. Right now, when we drive over a pickup, we do update the ammo, but we don't show you what the current pickup is. So we have to do that next, is how do we show the user what's their current secondary weapon, right? So let's try that. Some of these changes are on the parent tank. Some of these changes are on the child tank. It just depends. But let's just do the parent stuff first. So if you go to tank parent, what we're trying to do is show a little picture in the bottom left corner of the tank as it drives around. Which one, if the ammo is greater than 0, then which one of the weapons is it? Okay, so our first step then is to create I'm going to call this the weapon sprite. So I'm going to right click here and say create sprite. And we're going to call this one sprite or SPR underscore weapon. Okay, so which sprite do we use? Well, if we go out to our resources folder, the one we want is this one. Okay. Now, when you load it, you'll notice that there's one missing. Okay. This is the same order as we had for the pickup sprites, but the fixed tank pickup is not there. And the question is, why isn't it there? It's because, well, it's not a weapon. It's just an insta-fix kind of thing. You drive over it and it will instantly fix it. Okay? So what do we have to do on this one? We'll make sure we center this. Okay? So we want to say middle center on this. Okay? And then we have to go and remove these background colors. So I would say edit. And then for each of the frames, go in here and click this tool and get rid of that background on all 3 of the sprites. You'll note that the order is the exact same order as they are for the pickups. The position 0 is the rocket. That's also our constant that we're using. Position 1 is the bouncing bomb. Position 2 is the shield. And the tank fix-up one isn't a weapon, so it's not included. Okay. So now we've got our sprite. We got it centered. Now we have to show it. It's not an object, right? So we're not adding it to our list of objects. So where do we draw it? And so the answer is here in the tank parent. We have a draw event there, right? Right now our draw event, what does it do? Well, let's see. It does, yeah, we're just, It draws the health bar. You see that there. And then we set the draw color to 10. We set this font to small, and then we show the amount of ammo. But we need to ask a question first. And the question is our ammo greater than 0? If it is, then we have a weapon and we have ammo. It would make a lot of sense to have a weapon with no ammo. So we're going to just let the ammo drive it. If you have 0 for your ammo, that means you don't have a currently active secondary weapon. So we're going to check that first. Here, right there, we're going to say, well, we're in the parent tank, so we can just say ammo. That's one of the variables. And we say if ammo is greater than 0, okay, that means they have ammo, so that must mean they have a weapon, I guess. So only then do you go through the process of drawing the ammo, because it's not 0, but also the secondary weapon. So I would take all these 3 things and then drag these off to the right over here and make them controlled by that if statement. So again, I'm just adding it and moving it so it's controlled by the if statement. All these 3 things get only done when you have ammo. Okay, so that's one change. But now, not only are we drawing the amount of ammo we have, but we also want to draw what's our current secondary weapon. We haven't set that yet, or maybe we have, but how do you draw that? So here I would say draw, because we're in the draw event. You can only draw in the draw event. And what we want to do is draw a sprite. So we'll put that last. What sprite do we want to draw? We want to draw the weapon sprite. Okay. Where do we want to draw it? Well, we want to draw it relative to the tank. We're in the parent tank, so we say relative on both of these. Now remember, the tank's origin is the middle of the tank. And the origin for our little icon is also in the middle. So I'm thinking we need to move left from the origin. So I would say here, I would say negative 24. And for y, we want to go down. So remember, y is upside down. So we say we add 24 to the tank's position. And that's when we want to show the picture. But the question here is, what do we show? There's 3 different frames that we can choose from. And we want to show the weapon that corresponds to the weapon they picked up. So we have a variable on our parent tank called weapon. Okay. So set the frame to weapon. That's kind of weird. But I've taken great pains in making sure that the numbers we use for the weapons and the type of the pickup and the picture of the weapon are all the same number. Okay, they all match up. So the number 0 is the rockets, number 1 is the bouncing bombs, number 2 is the shields. Okay. So if we did this right, we should see a picture of our current pickup if we have the other parts coded. I think we did code that other part, but let's just make sure. So when you start, you don't want to see any pickup, right? And I don't. And I go pick up something that has ammo. And see, I have a little icon appear there. Now, I know it seems really small and hard to see, but remember, when we finish this game, we're going to zoom into each of the tanks. So this will be much larger on the screen eventually. Right now it's a little small, but you can see that the current weapon is there, right? So drive over a couple of the pickups and make sure it changes. Like if I drive over this one, see how it changes to a shield? And then this one should zero out your secondary weapon, but it fixes your tank. So the fix-up one is not the best thing, because you lose your secondary weapon when you drive over the fixing thing. So there's a penalty as well. Okay, so I pick up that. I'm just trying all 3 types. I can get to the shields, and now I'm trying to get to a bouncing bomb. There's a bouncing bomb there. Okay, so now we've seen all of them, right? So test to make sure. Well, test both tanks too, because this is on the parent tank. So does it go away? It does. Here, here. Shield, yes. Okay, so it works for both tanks. That's what I like about having a parent, is you can make the change on the parent and it affects both of the children. And you don't have to do it twice. You just do it once on the parent. Okay, so we only had to change this once. All right, so now we can see we can see what our secondary weapon is. But now what we have to figure out is how do we fire it, or how do we use it? And so the one I think that's easiest to start with, we've already done the tank one, the tank fixing one, but the next one that's most easy is probably the shield. I say probably because, well, it's probably not the shield. But we're going to do the shield first, okay? But we don't have a shield sprite yet. Now, there are two different types of shields. There's one for the tank 1, and there's one for tank 2, and they're different colors. Okay, so let's make those sprites for the shield. First, we say create sprite. And again, this isn't going to be an object. It's just going to be a sprite. We'll say import. And here's shield 1. Now, the way I used to do this before is I would put it under the tank so it kind of looked like a shield. But there's a new feature in GameMaker, or relatively new, where you get to set the opacity of it. What does opacity mean? Or transparency would be another way to say it. Opacity is, can you see through it? Now, in a shield, you usually can see the thing behind the shield if it's like an electromagnetic shield or something. So what we're going to do on this one is we're going to do a couple things. First, we'll give it a name. We'll call it shield 1 because this is going to be the shield for tank 1. So we'll call it shield 1. Notice the color's red. We want to edit this image. And we do want to take away the background color. So that's that. Okay, so there's our shield. But we also want to make it somewhat transparent. So the way you do that is you go to the bottom here and see where it says Layers, Default. If you right-click there, so right-click there and say Edit Layer Properties. And notice they have a slider here called Opacity. How opaque is it? Well, we're going to lower the opacity. Ooh, boy, that's really low. See how the background kind of shows through a little bit? That's kind of what we want on a shield. We want to be able to see the tank underneath it, right? So I'm using 44, but as we play the game and you look at it, we can decide how opaque we want this to be. But maybe start with 44 if you want. Okay, so that's the red one. We also have to make the blue one, right? So let's create that one now. Shield 2. So sprite shield 2, right? And here we're editing it, and we're bringing in shield 2. All right, we got that. And just like before, we're going in here and editing. So first we take out the background color. And maybe use the same opacity setting. I don't know. I was doing 44. So I right-click on the default layer, I guess. And then I'm going to reduce this to 44. So it's somewhat transparent. Okay. One thing I forgot to do was center these. We want these centered on the middle of the tank. So we also want to center these sprites. So instead of top left, make sure you say middle center on shield 1. And also middle center on shield 2. Okay. All right. So that was the easy part. The next part is kind of a challenge. We've got to do a couple things. First thing we have to do is how do we trigger the activation of the shield? And the answer is we have a secondary weapon fire button. So you have two fire buttons in this game. You've got the primary button for the shells, but then you have your secondary button, right? That's what we're trying to do that. So we're going to do tank. We're going to do tank 1 first, okay? So here's not the sprite, but the actual object. So tank 1. How are we going to deploy our shield? And the way we do that is we're going to use the control key. But we need to do a key press event, kind of like we did with the fire key. Kind of like firing. So you say key press. And the one we're doing is control. That's this one. Okay. So make sure it's key press. If you don't do that, then you use up all your shields automatically. So what should happen when you hit the control key? And the answer is you fire your secondary weapon, or in this case, you activate your shield. But you can only do this if you have some ammo, right? So first we have to check for that. So they hit the control key, and we go, well, we got to test first if we have any ammo. Because if we don't have any ammo, then we can't do anything. So we want to make sure that ammo is greater than 0. Okay? Ammo is greater than 0. That means you have ammo, you can do this. So once you've determined that you have ammo, then you have to determine, hey, is this the shield? Is the shield weapon the one that's active? So we have to ask another question here. So drag this question to the right here. And here you can say, you can say weapon. Okay, so weapon. If the weapon is equal to, well, equal to what? This is for the shield. We could just put the number 2 here, but it would be better to use our macro or our constant. So we would say shield. See the macro we made called shield pickup? I know it's not a pickup, it's a weapon, but I made sure that these things were always in the right place. So shield pickup is 2, I guess. Or is it 1? It's 2, which is the same as the type on the pickup, which is the same as the position of the sprite in the little picture that you draw. So all of those line up. So I just use that constant. So if you have ammo and it's the shield active, then it's time to deploy our shield. How do we deploy our shield? Well, well, first we need a variable to store that our shield value. Now, normally what you do is you'd have a shield that would be a Boolean operator or a Boolean variable that would be either true, the shield is on, or false, it's off. We're going to do it a little differently, because I'm trying to avoid having to set up an alarm. So what I would do is in my create event for my tank parent, so go to the create event of tank parent. That's where you want to go. We're going to create a new variable. That's typically where you create new variables, is in the create event. Here we have our weapon variable. There's our ammo variable. Let's add one more. And we're going to call this one shield. But instead of setting it to true or like to 1 or something, we're going to set it to 40. And the question is, why would you set it to 40? You only have 10 shields. Why would it be 40? Well, this 40 represents the number of frames the shield is going to be, or not frames, but the number of steps in the animation where this shield can be active. So it starts, actually we want to start this at 0. We don't want to set it to 40 originally, but we will later, okay? Because the shield's not active when you start. So we set that to 0. So now that we've created this shield variable, now we can go back to the tank, our parent tank, back to the draw event, or were we in the draw event? We're trying to activate the shield, so that would be in tank 1. Yeah, the control key. That's where we're at. And now what we can do is we can activate the shield by simply doing this. We just set the variable shield to 40. Okay. We verified that they've they have ammo and the shield weapon is active. So here we just say shield. And but for the shield, for the rocket, and for the bouncing bomb, we need to take away 1 from ammo. Okay, so let's do that. But where do we put that? So it would actually be right here. So drag us to the bottom of the shield pickup if statement. We want it outside of the if, because this is going to be true for anything that has ammo. When they hit the button, we need to take one away from ammo. Now remember, when ammo gets to 0 or below 0, it shouldn't ever get below 0, but we say -1 relative. Remember, the draw method won't draw it if the ammo is 0 or less than 0, okay? So that will take away 1 from ammo. Okay? All right, so that's correct. We're going to have to add more weapons here, but for now, just for shield, this is good. All right, so let's try it just to see if I drive over the shield. It's not drawing it yet, but at least it should take away 1 from ammo. So let's try that. So I'm going to drive around until I find a shield. Of course, the one you want to find is not there. Oh, we're in tank 1, so I better, yeah, there's tank 1. Okay. There's a shield. I'll go get one. There, I have the shield. And then I'm going to press the control key and see how my shield is going down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm not seeing the shield because I haven't drawn it yet, but at least the numbers, when I get to 0, the secondary weapon disappears. Okay? That's cool. Okay, so one more time. If I can get it before it switches. Okay, and I'm hitting the control key, and it's going down until I get to 0. Okay, so that looks good. But then I have to actually draw the shield, right? So we're going to draw that in the draw event of tank 1. So we go back to tank 1. Here's the draw event. Remember that the parent tank also has a draw event, so we're overriding that parent tank 1. Well, the first thing we do is we draw ourselves, and then we draw our, which is the tank, and then we draw our health bar, I guess. But now we want to draw our shield, and we want to draw our shield after we draw our tank. So here's drawing the tank. We need to sandwich it right in here, but we only want to show the shield if it is active. We don't want it showing all the time. So again, we have to do an if variable. So drag this in right in the middle between those two. We're going to sandwich in right there. And here we're checking the shield variable, right? And this is, where are we? We're in tank 1's draw event. And we're trying to see if shield is greater than 0. Remember, we set it to 40. And if it is greater than 0, then we need to draw the shield as well. So here then, we can say draw. And here's draw sprite. So drag that to the right of the shield variable. And then the question is, which one do we draw? Well, it depends on which tank we're on. We're on tank 1. So choose the tank 1 shield. We want it to draw right where the tank is located. So we're going to say relative 0, 0. They're both centered. Both of the sprites are centered. Should that be okay? But is there a frame? And there isn't a frame, so that's good. So we only draw the shield if the shield is greater than 0. If we try it now, though, we'll find that we deploy our shield, but it never goes away. Okay, so I'm going to drive around and get the shield, and we need the shield to be temporary, right? So here's my shield. Let's see if I can get it. Yeah. So here I activate it by hitting the control key. There's my shield, but again, it doesn't go away. It stays forever, and you don't want that. Okay. So how do you limit then the time the shield is active? Well, we're testing to see if shield is greater than 0. So what I'm thinking is the best place to do this would be in the parent tank. because both tanks have to do this. See how we already have a step event there? And in the step event, we're just checking to see, we're getting it pointed the right way, but we're checking to see if they won here. Well, what we have to do is we have to add one more thing. Well, let's add it to the top because that's easier. So what we have to do is do a set variable or assign variable. And again, the variable is going to be shield. And what we're going to do here is we're going to subtract 1. So we say -1 relative. So every frame, every step, they're going to take 1 away from shield. So shield will count down from 40 down to 0. So it'll be there for 40 frames. And then it will go away. Let's see if that's true. Okay, so I'm driving around, happily driving there. I got my shield. Now I deploy it. And what I want to see is it lasts for about a second, a little over a second. Let's see. See how it lasts for just a little while, but then goes away. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That's the last one. And then you can't deploy your shield anymore. Okay. So that's cool. But we're still not done. Why aren't we done? Here, I'll pick up another shield. I'll show you what's wrong. Okay, so here's me deploying my shield, and then I'm firing. It doesn't matter if I have my shield up or down. I still take damage, right? So we've got the rendering of the shield going on. We've the activating a shield, but we're not doing anything about it when the shell hits the tank. It's supposed to shield us from damage. It's not doing that. So how do we get it to do that? Well, this is where it gets kind of tough. You have to go to the shell. So this is shell 1. This is, I guess, shell 2. Yeah, I guess we have to do shell 2 first. So when shell 2 hits tank 1, what do we want to happen? Well, here, well, that's not it. That one. What do? We call the parent event because why? I don't know. But then we have the small explosion, and then we take, see right here, we take 10 away from health. But if the shield's up, we don't want to do that. Right? We have to put an if statement there. We only take 10 away from health if the shield's not active. How do we know it's not active? How do we know it's not active? It's because you can't see it, I guess. So the variable you should look for is shield here again. Remember, though, actually, let's do this. We're in the shell, right? This is shell 2. We could say this other dot shield. So the other thing we crashed into is the tank. So we're going to say, well, the other shield, if that value is, well, let's assign a value. We don't want to assign a value, do we? No, we want to check the value. This one, sorry. So that one, we want to ask the question, if the variable of other.shield is greater than 0, right? Because we're taking 1 away from it every step. But if it's greater than 0, then we know that the shield is up on the tank. So if it's greater than 0, that means the shield is up. So actually we have to say if it's less than or equal to 0, that means the shield is down. And that's when we can take 10 away from the tank. So only take 10 away, only subtract 10 from health if the shield is less than or equal to 0, meaning the shield isn't there. You still need to destroy the shell, though. Okay. Okay. So now we've got this protection mechanism, right? So let's try that. So here's tank 1. I go pick up the shield once it magically appears. There's some shields down there. Okay, so I got my shield. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to have tank 2 fire at it while I'm deploying my shield. So let's see if I can do this. Oh, that's the other one. Okay, so tank. Okay, so I'm going to deploy my shield, which is my control key. See how I'm not taking damage when the shield is up, but I'm taking damage when the shield is down? So I take damage, or I don't take damage. See that? So the shield is behaving like a shield. I take damage when I don't have the shield on. I don't take damage when I do have the shield on. Okay? That's cool. All right. But this is where it gets kind of hard again. Now you have to make all those same changes over to tank 2 and shell 2. So let's do we'll just do a comparison between tank 1 and tank 2. So here's tank 1. We've already done our key press here, right? So what's our key press to fire our secondary weapon for tank 2? And the answer is the, see if I can remember, the delete key. So we need to add a key press delete to not tank 1, but tank 2. And we say key press. And I'm looking for delete, but I don't see it. It's actually under here, other, delete. That's the one you want, okay? So when they hit the delete key, we want to pretty much do the same thing as we did with the one up here. The key press event here, the control. We did all this fancy stuff, right? I think it's all the same. So what I do is I select the first one, and I'm in tank 1, and I'm selecting all of these because I just want to recreate this. I'm holding down my shift key to select more than one. And then I say Control C to copy it. So copy it from tank 1's fire key to tank 2's fire key. That's here. And you want to put it right here. Now you have to ask the question so you don't get pasting errors. Does this still make sense for tank 2? We say ammo, yeah. If you have ammo and your weapon is a shield and the shield is activated, then, or no, if you have all the things, then you can assign 40 to shield. That turns the shield on. You still have to take one from ammo. So nothing really has to change there. You just copy and paste. Now, anytime you do that, it should bother you when it doesn't change. You probably should consolidate that into its own script. But we're not going to do that here. We should, but I'm just not doing that because we don't have time. Okay, so now that we have the shield being set, but we're not drawing it yet correctly. So we go back to tank 2. We're still in tank 2, and we want to go to the draw event. And remember, the draw event in tank 1, we had to sandwich in that code right in there. So let's look at tank 1's draw event. Here's the draw event in tank 1. And what we're doing is taking this. We're trying to see if the shield is active, and then we're displaying the correct shield. So copy those two things, and we'll squish them in the draw event of object tank 2. Because right now the draw event doesn't have that stuff in it. So I'm going to paste that stuff in. It's super important to get this order right. We want to make sure that we draw the parent event last because that has the bar in it, the health bar. So first we draw the tank, then we draw the shield, and then we draw the health bar. That's what we're doing. So all of those things are happening. Thank you. So we're going to activate the shield on shield 2. Is there anything else we have to do? I think we have to look at the collision event now between shell 1, right, and tank 2. Here too we have to be careful. Right now we just create the instance of the explosion. And again, what we have to say is if the shield is up, don't take 10 away from the health. So how do you do that? Drag this out there. This is the collision event between the shell 2 and tank 1. We're going to ask a question right here. And we're trying to see if shield is up. So we would say if the shield is not up, actually, is less than or equal to 0, then we know that the shield isn't up. If the shield isn't up, then we want to take this health and take 10 away. The story instance is still its own thing, but let me zoom out a bit so you can see the structure. Okay? So you set the health, and then regardless of whether the shield's up or down, you want to get rid of the shell. Now we're in the shell, right? And we said shield. But remember, the shell doesn't have a shield. It's the tank that has a shield. So you want to say the thing you crashed into. So you would say other dot shield. Okay? So make sure you say that or that's not going to work. Okay, so let's see if I can deploy now the blue player's shield. So that's tank 2. So I'm going to drive around tank 2 and see if I can pick up a shield object. There's a shield. I have a shield now. I press the button for shield. That's the delete key. And you can see I'm drawing the wrong sprite. It's supposed to be blue, and that's red. Okay. Okay. So we have a problem in our draw for tank 1 or tank 2. This is a pasting error. Remember, I told you you got to be careful. See how we're drawing shield 1? It's supposed to be shield 2. Okay. Okay, so let's try this. The other thing we have to check is that shield or that tank 2 does not take damage. Yeah, does not take damage when it's got the shield on. Having trouble finding one, so hang on. There's some shields. Okay, so I have my shield finally. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to deploy that shield right in front of tank 1. And the whole point is if tank 1 fires, I take damage, right? But if I have my shield up, which is my delete key, the hope is that I'm not taking damage and I'm not, okay? When it's down, I take damage. When its shield is up, I don't take damage, okay? So that looks like that works. And the mechanism is working as well, okay? All right. Now, one thing I noticed is that the shields are different colors. You've got the red tank, or your tank 1 is red shield, and tank 2 is a blue shield. Well, it'd be nice to use those colors for our score. So instead of using green, let's change the second tank to blue because that's the color of the shield as well. So where do you change that? Well, that's in the controller. So if we go to the controller's draw event, GUI draw event, draw GUI, instead of using the color green, we're going to use the color blue. You can just click on the little color block and choose this predefined blue color. Okay? So now our score color is also the same as our shield color. Yeah, I think that's better. Okay, so I'm going to go grab that, and then, oops, almost. There's one. So I grab that shield, I deploy it. How do I deploy it? Control. That's red. Okay, so, and then with the blue one, I want this one to be blue. Okay, so I got my shield, and I deploy it. That's this button. See how that's blue? That matches our score color up here. See our score is blue. Okay. So blue and red, that sounds good. And now we can avoid damage by deploying our shield. Once we run out of shields, though, 2, 1, 0, the shield goes away. And now I can't deploy the shield anymore because I don't have any more ammo. All right. So we're going to take a brain break, and then we'll come back and talk about the other two, which is the rockets and the bouncing bombs. All right, so now we're adding the sprites for the other secondary weapons, the actual weapons. So here we say create sprite, and we're going to call this one rocket. Okay, SPR_rocket. And then we'll say import. We'll grab this rocket sprite. Now you'll note when you grab it that you have all these frames. It's doing the rotation thing, but we don't need to do that anymore because we can do that using the new version of GameMaker. So select the second one. Well, actually, select the second one, and then go all the way to the end. You can't see it. Oh, it's frustrating. And hold the Shift key and select the last one, and then just say delete. And that will delete everything but the first one. Okay. Next thing you want to do is center it. So say middle center. That way it'll rotate around the middle. And then we want to edit the image and delete the background color. Okay. So now we just have a single rocket sprite. Okay. Cool. The other sprite we need to make is the bouncing bomb sprite. So let's do that one. Right click on create sprite, create sprite. Yeah, Devin. So here is sprite. We'll just call it bomb, just to keep it short. So sprite bomb. And here too, it's the same setup. We go get the bomb sprite, grabbing the bomb sprite. And here too, it's got all the different frames in it. We're just going to select the second frame and go all the way to the last frame. I'm selecting that. And we're just going to delete all those. I hit the delete key. And that gets rid of all of them. We do also on this one want to center it. Middle center for the origin. And then we want to edit it and get rid of the background color. Okay. All right. So now we have our two sprites. Now we have to figure out how to fire these weapons. Let's start first with the bouncing bomb. Now the bouncing bomb, the way it's going to work is you fire it, and it will fire in the direction the tank is pointing. What's interesting about the bouncing bomb is it bounces off walls and lasts for a little while. So you can shoot around corners. Okay? So, now let's create the actual objects. Now if you remember with our shell, this might be helpful, but if you remember with our shell, what we did was, because this is kind of like a shell, it comes out the front. What do? Oh, that's not it. We're looking at the create event of the shell. So again, I'm fighting with this UI. So the create event of the shell. We're just looking at this example. We call the parent event for some reason. And then we set the instance rotation based on the tank's direction. Same thing, then we set the direction based on the tank direction. So the instance rotation and the direction. And then we set the speed to 8. I'm curious to see what's in the parent event, though. So in the create event of the parent, what are we doing? Oh, yeah, we're setting the alarm to count down for a little while. Okay, all right, so that makes sense. So we want to do something similar with the bouncing bomb. So let's do that. First of all, let's make a bouncing bomb parent. So we'll call this object. I don't want to do a lot of typing. So object bomb parent. Okay. And we'll set. It doesn't have a sprite because we're never going to create a parent, so it doesn't need a sprite. But we do need to add a create event. And in the create event, what we're doing is we're setting an alarm. Remember, we want to limit how far this bomb bounces. So we say alarm here. Alarm. And we set it. And if it's going to last about as long as our shells, we're going to say 50. Okay? So 50 steps before the alarm goes off. So we do that first. Next, we create one of the child bombs. So this would be object, I guess, bomb 1. So this is the bomb coming out of tank 1. This time we do have a sprite we can use. We're going to use the same sprite for both. Okay. So there's the bomb. And then here too we add a create event. There's our create event. I'm going to look at the create event of shell 1 because it's going to be very similar. So I'm going to the create event of shell 1, and we do these things. So select all of these things, okay, and copy them, okay. So I'm in shell 1, okay. We want to do the same thing in bomb 1. So here we're in the create event of bomb 1, and I'm going to paste in what was in shell. What do we have to change? Well, we call the parent event so that we have the alarm set. We are in tank 1, because this is bomb 1, so we say tank 1's direction. So we set the instance rotation to tank 1's direction. We also set the direction of motion to tank 1's direction. And then we shoot it out at a speed of 8. Okay? When it gets created. That looks all right. I don't think we have to change anything. So that's correct. Will this work? I guess we have to look at tank 1's secondary weapon trigger. So let's go to tank 1. The secondary weapon for tank 1 is the control key. Okay, so if we go to the control key, we have kind of started it, but we haven't really looked at it. We say, okay, so if we have ammo, that makes sense. If the weapon is the shield pickup, then do this. But we don't have what should happen when the weapon is the bouncing bomb. So we have to add another. We have to add another if statement. So where would I put this if statement? I would put it after this one. So on the bottom, this if statement, we're going to have another if statement. This isn't terribly efficient, but it will work. Here we'll say weapon again. But this time, we were trying to see if the weapon is equal to the bouncing bomb. So we would say bounce bouncing bomb pickup. Okay, that's the constant that I would say, hey, this is the bouncing bomb. So if the weapon is set to bouncing bomb, then, well, we want to shoot the bouncing bomb. How do we shoot the bouncing bomb? Well, we simply create it. All we have to do is create it. So I guess we could just say, this is frustrating. Okay, we say here, create. And what do we want to create? Well, we want to create a bouncing bomb. So drag that to the right of this if we just created. Here we create the bouncing bomb. We want to make it centered on the tank, and we want it to be on the instances layer. So I think that's right. Okay, so let's give this a try and see if we actually see the bouncing bomb get created. It gets some motion. It's not going to bounce. It's just going to fly through all the walls, I think. We don't have anything really set for that yet. We just want to see if we can fire it. Okay, so I'm going to go pick up the bouncing bomb sprite now. We're in tank 1. There's a bouncing bomb. Oh, there's one here. Okay, so I have the bouncing bomb sprite. What's going to happen? Well, I think it's just going to shoot. Is it going to bounce off the walls? No. But let's fire. Here we go. I'm hitting the control key. There's the bomb. Yeah, it just flies through the walls. Okay? And it lasts way too long, right? But it does if I turn my tank. If I turn my tank and I fire, it fires in the direction of the tank. Is what I want. Okay? So I suppose the first thing we need to do is in the bouncing bomb child, object bomb 1, we have a create event, but we don't have an alarm event. What happens when the alarm goes off? Well, that's at the parent level. So I think we go to object bomb parent. Yeah, here. That's where we set it. So maybe we also say here, when the alarm goes off, this is alarm 0. So I'm an object bomb parent. See, I'm object bomb parent. Alarm 1, when that goes off, then I just want to have it destroy itself, just like we did with the shell. So we say destroy. Okay. So now if I try this, the bouncing bomb shouldn't fly all the way across the room. It should stop after a little while. Okay, so here, there's a bouncing bomb right there. I fire with my secondary weapon. It still goes forever. Why? Okay, so that didn't work. I was thinking, I think we tried this last time with the shell, and it didn't work with the shell either. I was thinking that the parent, here's shell parent, and notice on shell parent, here's alarm 0, and we just destroy it. In the create event, we set the alarm. Yeah, nothing special. So here, bomb 1, what do we do? In the create event, did we set the alarm though? Oh, it's the create event of the parent, sorry. See how in the create event of the parent, we set alarm 0. And then when the alarm goes off, we destroy ourselves. So those are the same. I don't see the difference. Try one more time. Here's the shell. Are we calling the parent event? So this would imply that the parent event is not being called. Let's see if it's not being called. When it's created. Now we're calling the parent event. That might be the wrong parent event though, so I'm going to delete that and then just re-enter it. Because remember, I cut and pasted that. I'm not sure what that would do. Okay, so here we go. I'm putting the parent event first. And then in the parent event, oh, I see. Object bomb 1. If you go to object bomb 1, I forgot to set the parent. See that? So that's why it's not working. So make sure to set the parent for object bomb1 to object bomb parent. Yeah. Okay? So now, when we call the parent event, I would expect the parent event will fail if you don't have a parent, but it didn't. It didn't fail. Okay, so here I have the bouncing bomb, and I fire the right weapon, and it goes away. That's what we want. Okay, so the next thing is, how do we get it to bounce off the walls? We have to ask ourselves a question. Anytime you add a new object to a game, you have to ask yourself the question, how is it going to interact with all the other objects that are already in the game? In this case, we have the bouncing bomb. Should the bouncing bomb destroy the wall? And my suggestion is you already have a shell that can destroy the wall. So I'm saying no. It just bounces off the walls. Okay? Now remember, a wall 2, which is destroyable, at least by shells, and wall 1 is a wall 1 because it's a child of wall 1. So we have to put a collision event between the bouncing bomb and wall 1. Does it go on the parent? Sure. Because this would be true for both types of bombs. What do we want to do? We'll add a collision event between object bomb parent and the wall 1, which will include wall 2's because wall 2's are child of wall 1. So then, what should happen? Well, it needs to bounce. Problem is, in GameMaker, this version of GameMaker, it doesn't have a bounce function anymore. So you have to do it yourself. Which means, what do? We say execute code. Remember the walls are solid, right? Execute code. What code are we executing? Well, we say move underscore bounce solid, that one. Move underscore bounce solid, and then here you would say false inside the parentheses, and then don't forget the semicolon. Okay? So when it interacts with, or when it collides with the wall, it's going to bounce. Okay, so let's try it. Okay, so again, I'm going to go pick up the bouncing bomb, if I find one. Why do I drive over the, oh, there's one. Why do I drive over the other pickups? Because when I drive over one, it'll reset it. Okay, so I have the bouncing bomb. I want to first check to see if it bounces off the wall 2. It does. Here's wall 1. Another question you need to ask yourself is, what happens if the bouncing bomb hits you? If you do this, should it blow your tank up? I don't know. You have to be careful with this one. I think it would be interesting to make the bombs blow up the other tank, but you'd have to put a little delay on it because it's already colliding with the tank when you fire it. Yeah, so our bouncing bombs are now working. Okay. Well, are they really working? Well, we can fire them. They don't cause any damage yet to the other tank, but so we've got our bouncing bomb kind of working. Let's worry about the damage a little bit later. Let's try next the rocket one. But we're almost out of time. How much time do we have? 54? Yeah, I don't think I could get that done quickly, but let's try to do the damage part then. Okay, so when bomb 1 hits tank 2, that's what we're looking at. So collision with tank 2, what we want to do is the same thing we're doing with shell 1. Okay, so I'm going to shell 1. What do we do? What do we do when shell 1 hits tank 2? That's what we're doing. We want to do all these things. So just copy this one. these would be the same. All of this would be the same. And you'd put that in bomb 1. Collision event with tank 2. Hope I copied it. I don't know if I did. Yeah, there it is. Okay, so you create an instance of a small explosion. You check the shield variable. If the shield's not on, take 10 away from health, and then destroy the bomb. Okay, so let's try that. And now I'm going to shoot bouncing bombs from tank 1 to tank 2 and see if I can damage tank 2. There's one. Okay, so I got my bouncing bomb, and now I'm going to shoot them at tank 2. I'm going to see if tank 2 can take damage from bombs now. So here I go. No, wrong one. This one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. Okay? So now bomb 1s can destroy tank 2s. So your job, and I'm not going to record this, but your job is to do the same thing we did to bomb 1, make a bomb 2 that damages bomb or tank 1. So what's in bomb 1? Well, it has, at this level, it has a create event and a collision with tank 1 that you're going to have to define. But it's just like bomb 2 will be just like bomb 1, except it's interacting with tank 1. Will the create event be the same? Let's just look. Yeah, the create event, well, the only thing different is that you would put in tank 2 here instead of tank 1, right? And then in this one, you would say collision with tank 1, because this is bomb 2. And then this code would be identical, okay? So make those changes as well. I'll do that offline. I don't need to video that. But then next time we're going to do the rockets, and then perhaps look at the views. How to make the views into the room so that you have the split screen plus the mini-map. And then we're done. So we're getting close. We're getting close.